Yo, 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 we are back with season 3, episode number 2. And yes, that is our new intro to the show. Thank you, Dan, for making the suggestion. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, and I'm more than anything more thrilled that you have a new catch line, and it's just I think it's a hip one too. I think we're going to resonate with some younger crowds. I like that.
There you go.
But more
Yeah.
important than the intro is the content of the Pivot podcast. This episode is an awesome topic: the importance of education in trading and how to get started. Tracy, start me off. Tracy, how would you tell a new listener or new trader into the market, first of all, where to find education and what they should be looking for?
Such a great question, because I'll tell you, when I started on my journey, it was a challenge to find quality education. And I mean, go to the nearest university and look up financial trading or stock trading, or go to a college and look for stock trading, or better yet, go online and Google any school that teaches stock trading that's legitimate, and you're going to be SOL. It's just one of those things. I couldn't find one. So what did I do? Resourceful enough, I went to YouTube and started Googling in YouTube. I consider YouTube my, institution away from home, or my university away from home. So I went to the University of YouTube and started to Google how to become a trader. And wouldn't you know it, there's a lot of garbage out there, but there's a lot of great stuff. So you have to weed through all of that mumbo jumbo and all the good stuff and figure out what is quality and what isn't quality. And I got to say that it wasn't until I came across real life trading that I finally ended up finding something that made some sense. Because up until that point, I found a lot of education that was out there was incomplete. It was reiterated from somebody else. It was just kind of like a little carrot, a little teaser that said, here, just this is it. But I'm going to leave you hanging long enough that you don't have the answer. And in order to get the answer, you're going to have to pay me, but I don't know you. So, I may be telling you the truth. I may not be telling you the truth. So it's really a shark pit out there when it comes to looking for education, unless you know where you're going. So as far as I'm concerned, I think that real life trading is a great first start. And you guys might be thinking this is a sales pitch, but guess what? All of our education is free. Well, the majority of our education is free. The stuff that you need to get started is all free. So what do you got to lose, right? How about you, Dan?
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think for any new trader out there, kind of listening to the Pivot podcast, one, you've found a good start. I mean, I know you mentioned Google and YouTubing, and yeah, all ways to get to the destination you're looking for. But if anybody stumbled upon a Pivot podcast or a podcast like this, or talking about trading, or really gearing toward either new traders, struggling traders, that's a good start. And even go back to the last 2 seasons and try to get as much content as possible into what other traders have done. We've done a ton of interviews from successful traders from all different backgrounds, walks of life, coming from all different specialties that they maybe did before or continue to do while they trade. So it will give you at least different insights to that. Podcast, when I was started, not a thing, right? It was which podcasts are, to me, it's a great way to really not have to get funneled by, I guess, the mainstream media. If you wanted to get on TV, if you wanted to get any kind of content out there, you had to have any kind of connections to any of the big talking heads, the networks, things like that, radio stations, anywhere that you could get onto somewhere else for content. Podcasts make it a lot easier for people to find the information that they're looking for. So I think finding things like this, again, real life trading, there's a ton of garbage, and there's also some good content out there in YouTube land and Google land and things like that as well. And just take it for what it is. Back trade strategies, test strategies, understand who you are as a person, what your style of trading is, what your risk to reward tolerance is, because what works for Bill does not work for John, right? It's 2 different concepts. And then you add Steve in there, and now you're mixing all the concepts together, and it's just something that could be fairly simple ends up complicating itself, right? So I would say that find any of these things that kind of bring people on a journey and start to understand what other people did. You don't have to step in somebody else's footprints, but you can definitely walk on the same path. right?
Mhm.
And and I think also in terms of education, because we are live in the all access pass right now. There's some people that have taken all the courses, that have taken some of the advanced courses, things like that. I learn something new every day, and I think the ongoing aspect of continuing education is huge. What are your thoughts on in regards to being able to continue education? What does that process look like for you?
I think that's a great question. And I'm going to put a pin in that for 1 second because I want to go back to one other issue before I get onto that, because that's going to be a longer topic, I think. But I want to just first cover what the different types of education are out there and ways that at least we offer to learn, right? So you've got your actual online courses that you can take, which is a pre recorded webinar that you can review, might have tests involved, might not. You can go through you know, the mixed stuff in YouTube and try and piece it all together, or you can go to an actual course that's been put together like what we have. There's also mentorship. There's also books. And if you're lucky enough to know somebody that is a successful trader, to have them kind of take you in under their wing. So there's a variety of different types of education. It's all good. And that's why there's enough for everybody. Anyone can learn this, and just matter of figuring out how you like to learn and what's appropriate for you. Now, going back to your question about continuing education, one of the things that I think new traders have a tendency of doing, because the education that is available, you've got your books, you've got your mentorships, you've got your classes, all of that is all available right now. There's no set curriculum out there that's going to pace you or keep you from overindulging in that education. And my experience with a lot of traders has been that they dive in and they take as much and they almost become gluttonous to the point where they're consuming so much information so quickly that they're really not giving enough time to actually digest any of that information. And so, to answer the question regarding continuing education, as far as I'm concerned, your education stops when you die. That's really the way that it goes. And if you take that perspective, then you may approach your education as not a quick, let's get as much done as possible, and then that's it. I'll just be successful for the rest of my life. You'll be able to take a step back and realize this is going to be a journey that's going to take your entire life to do, and savor it. Savor the moment that you're in, savor the education that you're currently getting, enjoy it. Take that little piece at a time and really get to know it very well before you move on to the next course, before you move on to the next mentorship, before you move on to the next thing. It's just over information is a big problem. And I think it's one of the leading causes to traders getting burnt out, traders failing, traders hitting that losing streak, or just hindering themselves from gaining success in the long run. So,
Yep.
what are your thoughts?
Well, I like this. I like that gluttonous. I don't know. Maybe just I like the word a lot, but you bring up one of the seven deadly sins. But I think I think there's definitely truth to that. Where when and I don't think it's just solely the trading world, and I think it has anything to do with hey, I want to play professional basketball.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you see the people on TV playing basketball on TV, and they're playing for the teams you like, and but you don't see the journey. It wasn't they made that decision. Hey, yeah, I would love to try out for the NBA. There was a whole process in between, right? And no matter what you do, I mean, if you're going to be a doctor, you don't finish elementary school and start getting into heart surgery, right?
Exactly.
There's a whole lot of extra schooling that goes into it, and there's a whole lot of journey on the way. And during any of those journeys, there's some ups, there's some downs. Yeah, relaying it back to the trading world, there's going to be a bad week.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a bad month. Hopefully not a bad year, but especially as you start out, yeah. I mean, at that point, it's define what a bad year is to you, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
it solely based on I made this much money, or I lost, or I was expecting to make more and I didn't quite hit that goal? I've seen some killer traders that make a lot of money and they're like depressed in themselves on their path to trade. I'm like, what are you doing? And it was just, well, their goals were so not unattainable, but unattainable today, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was they're just expecting to be at a different level than what they should be, right? And a lot of success comes from failure, and a lot of because everybody's going to have a bad trade or a bad day or a bad week. It happens.
Hmm.
How you deal with that, I think, brings you and catapults you into a much bigger, broader sense of what success actually is. And once you're at that level, you could look back and say, I remember where I was. And even that gets
Hmm.
a little hazy for people too, because I think people forget where they were, and they still, as they grow now, their expectations of where they should be grow with it. And
Hmm.
it's kind of like you're just constantly just chasing the little bunny around the dog track the entire time, and you're like, well, I can't catch this thing, right? But it's not so much that you are not progressing; you're progressing far more than if you did nothing.
Hmm.
And the longer you stay in the game, the longer you have the account open, the longer you're taking those courses, the mentorship groups, any of that stuff. Just the more you progress as a human, and in the craft that you're trying to achieve. So, yeah, for sure. And one of the things that I hear from people is they want to learn, they want to be there, but they don't necessarily want to spend the money. So, I mean, in the case of real life trading, yeah, we have the basic, intermediate, advanced classes. We have a bunch of content for free. We post a lot of stuff on YouTube. We do the first 30 minutes for free on YouTube on the open live markets. We have a lot of stuff that you can absorb and consume and learn from. And then we have the more in detail, the more advanced classes, if you so choose. And then you see some people like, well, I don't want to have to spend the extra money for it. What are your thoughts on that process? Because again, you are sacrificing money that you've made, you worked on, but I think the positives outweigh the negatives more so. But for some reason, that seems to be a big hurdle for some people as to like, do I really want? Is this where I want to spend my time and money?
Yeah, it's a twofold thing, I think, because part of it comes down to trust issues. I think that first of all, education online has become something that's kind of synonymous with you know, you're being taken advantage of, or there's scams, or there's something like that. But when you are told, well, you need to go to university to become a dentist and it's going to cost you this much money, we don't balk at that. We don't question it. It's like, okay, well, that's what I want to be, so I guess I got to fork out the money to do it. And so I think that the fact that people have difficulties comprehending coaching or mentorship as or classes, online classes, is something that they don't want to fork out the money to. I think there's a conflict there, and I think a lot of that has to do with trust and just the way that education online has really developed over a while, and it needs to be changed. And I'm hoping that real life trading is one of those companies that can earn your trust and help redefine what it means to educate yourself in a world of online education, because it is very different than what we're used to and what we're accustomed to. And that, I think, is what the obstacle really is that we need to overcome. It's a new form of education, it's a new form of learning. And, my time, your time, we've gone through our journey, and we're able to package certain things together that save time and add value and help you skip levels. And that should be worth something, correct? In my opinion, because we have some expertise. Whether it's valuable to you or whether it's priced at a point that you consider to be value is only up to you. And it's no different than whether you go to Harvard or whether you go to some state college or whether you try and learn things on your own and try and circumvent the education requirements. But that's kind of where it's at. So that's my take on it. I don't know. Do you have a different perspective or?
Well, I would definitely agree. This is there's a lot of fraud out there. I think Woodshed said people also got burned. I mean,
Mhm.
and signing up for like a mentorship program, yeah, I mean, you don't know what you're going to get because you haven't been there yet. I mean, I signed up for Sam Bankman Fried's course. He's supposed to start this year. I don't know. 30 more years I got to wait now. It's unbelievable. Can't take that FTX course.
Let me ask you this though. Do you know anybody, and maybe there's somebody in our room right now that's listening. Do you know anybody that has gone to university, gotten a degree, and is practicing something different?
Yes.
What does that say?
It's a 30-minute format. I'm not going to list all their names, but there's so many.
Okay, that's my point though. So, here we're having this issue where somebody's put a course out or somebody has done something, and then you take that course, you don't get the value out of it, and therefore it's deemed as fraud. I don't know. That to me is not fraud. That to me is, I mean, if somebody steals your money and then doesn't give you what, they don't take you into the class or whatever, that's fraud. But bad education, or education that doesn't really help you get forward in your career, doesn't necessarily make that education wrong, bad, or fraudful, whatever it might be. It just means that maybe it wasn't for you. Maybe it wasn't the right person for you to learn whatever you need to learn. Maybe they weren't that great of a teacher. So, I mean, I've had bad teachers in my life, and I've paid for it at university. And I mean, I've had one teacher where I walked into the class, and the very first thing that he said to me, and I remember it very clearly, is, if you have any programming skills whatsoever, if you've coded in your life, you need to forget it. This is a basic course. We're starting from scratch. And that was the last thing that any of us remembered or understood from then on that he said, because he was a terrible teacher. He was not able to break things down. And I eventually left that class. I didn't want to be in it because it was just a waste of my time and money. And unfortunately, it happens. So buyer beware. And I think that it's really important, especially in the world of online, that you can reach out to these people. There's the social platforms. That's one of the ways that they're using to promote their content. You get a feel for how they speak. You get a feel for how they teach. There's usually enough content out there that you can get that sense from. And I also suggest that if you're interested in learning from a particular individual, reach out to them, have a conversation with them quickly, and see if they're a good fit. So that's
Yeah,
my take on that.
I would
Yeah.
also say, to the point of, because again, there is a ton of mentor groups and help groups and internet things, and then there's also you'll pay for alerts, and then they come to your phone with some crazy stuff. It's out there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily know that anybody is ill-willed or bad-hearted by doing it, if their intent is to actually try to help explain things and help people grow. And then I would also throw the shoe on the other foot too, where, I mean, I've seen people I've worked with, where we go through a course, right? We'll do an 8-week program, and there's, let's say, 8 people in the group. I see 4, 5, 6 of them just nonstop. They're messaging. They got charts coming in. They got they're putting in work. They're asking questions. We only meet once a week, right? And they're staying connected with everybody. They're staying connected with the person teaching the course. And then you got others who show up sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's only 8 weeks, and they're missing 4 weeks, and there's no communication. And you're kind of like, what does somebody expect? I mean, it could be a $5 course. It could be a $50,000 course. If you're not going to put the work in, regardless, it's honestly, it's not the right time for you to. It's not something that you would put as a priority to really want to learn and understand. And again, everybody has their own timing. Everybody's got their own pace. So if you're still getting out of it what you were looking for, then great. But I want to see somebody, honestly, in the courses that are going to take what we learned. You have
Mm-hmm.
7 days until the next course, until we meet again.
Mm-hmm.
Back trade it, ask questions, look at the live market, paper trade things, try to really figure out why and how that could fit into your specific plan. And I think that weighs a lot into really what is success from taking any group or taking the education. Is it I'm paying this amount of money and this is the result I need to have my trading account, or is
Mm-hmm.
it, okay, we're teaching you a certain skill set, something that you could actually develop, bring out to your own, and then now you have a lifetime of potential gains and a lifetime of skills, and how you want to interpret skills or fit that part of a plan or bring that into a different concept. That's part of your journey of building your own individual plan. And
Mm-hmm.
so I would say that there's a little bit of that too, before somebody calls a university a fraud or something. And again, there's a lot of probably reputable
Mm-hmm.
people out there. Franco said, I in the group chat, he said, I paid thousands of dollars for courses that we're good as the free content for RLT.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I mean, the one thing I always say about RLT's content is it's coherent, right? It takes
Mm-hmm.
you from step A to step B, and then what to look for, and kind of expands out. And the further you go into the courses, just the more you understand. And then a lot of people, they'll watch it one time, and then they're like, okay, now I should be a professional teacher. All right, well, you learned a lot that you didn't even know that was in the courses. So as you're
Mm-hmm.
going through the advanced course, go back to the first course.
Hmm.
Things that didn't really make sense or you didn't really find that valuable, you might not have understood what that was actually leading up to, and now you kind of hone back on the skills. And I think it's
Hmm.
just the process of just rinse and repeating that really gets somebody to the next level.
It is, and the difference between us and the majority out there is that we are primarily an education company. That's what we are, and we're an education company before we're a trading company. It just that's the way it is. That's where our hearts are at. That's where the business mission is. It's just that's the difference. And the other companies out there, at least the majority of them, are geared towards trading first. That's primarily what it is, and education is secondary. And you bring up another point that I want to mention, and I want to actually expand on the learning part or what's available for learning. I truly believe that the planet, that sphere that we actually walk on with the atmosphere that we breathe, that is our entire university. And everything that we do, everything that we experience, touch, smell, see, feel, whatever it might be, that has the opportunity to add some form of education, learning value to our lives. It doesn't matter whether you spend money on a book or go to a movie or on a course or whatever. I can tell you, I've read some pretty bad books, I've gone to some pretty bad movies, but if you sit down and you say, what can I get from this? What can I honestly get from it? You might be reading between the lines. You might have to dig deep. You might have to find it in an indirect way because it might just be enough to provoke some thought. But if you have an intentional attempt at finding value in everything that you consume, regardless of how you consume it, that's going to better you. And you can find something valuable inside of a poorly written book or a very well written book. The difference is that well written book is probably one I'm going to stick on my shelf and I'm going to reread it 100 million times because every single time I reread it, I'm going to get something new out of it every single time. And I've touched on this before when, if other people have heard me speak about Jeremy's book, Money Grows on Trees. I've read it a few times, but the last time that I read it, I didn't get anything new out of it that was direct. Everything that I got new out of it was all indirect because I went in with an intention to really pull out what I could pull out and think about every single thing that was being discussed. And that thinking process sent me down some rabbit holes that really got me into a level of self-discovery. And I learned a lot from that book that was not even written on the page. And that's what I'm talking about as far as education. If you guys can all just change your pivot, put the responsibility on you that every single thing that you are reaching out for, touching, experiencing, go at it from a perspective of what does this have to do with me and how can I learn from it? What's the value here? There's got to be something, whether it's good or whether it's bad. Even bad experiences can add value in your life that you can make for good, that can turn you into a better person down the road. So,
Yeah, yeah, I love it. 100%, and I think the chat's agreeing. Well said, Tracy. Yeah, I agree, and I think education is everywhere, and how you apply it and how you want to accept it, that's all going to play in the outcome of this silly little game of life, right? That's gonna,
mm-hmm,
if you want to be a better trader, have an open mind to what trading could actually do. First
mm-hmm,
question we ask everybody in when they come into the mentor groups is, why are you here? What is your why of trading? Like what are you trying to get out of it, right?
mm-hmm,
Because if you don't have that starting question as to why you trade, and you're just sitting there and you're like, okay, the candles are green, my account's going up, my account's going down, it's going up. What are you doing it for, right?
mm-hmm,
What is your purpose? Like, what are you trying to achieve in the? Yeah, we all try to want to make more money. For what though?
mm-hmm,
Right? Is it just because we're trying to buy something really quick? Is it to replace a job, to get more freedom, to get more time, to be able to pay down debt? Like, there's got to be an end goal for why you're trading, because then your trading becomes a lot more serious. And I think how you interpret the education becomes a lot. It shines a light a lot differently on what's actually being taught and said, and how things are being approached, and how things that you receive are being conceptually matched.
mm-hmm,
So I think that having that little bit of an end goal and final destination as to where you want to be. And again, once you get there, you're purely allowed to say, okay, great, I reached it, I hit it. What's the next goal? What's the next thing that I want to do? What's the next thing I want to accomplish? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's how we grow as people, as humans.
For sure. For sure. Now, there's one other thing that we haven't really discussed yet, and that is, you know, review and self reflection, because that can be one of the biggest learning opportunities that we ignore, fall short from. And I think it's one of the most valuable opportunities. I have been reviewing one of the classes that I heard, that Jeremy was doing, and he was speaking in there, and he was talking about the percentage of times that he spends on the battlefield or trading versus back trading, practicing. And it was like a 90% to 10%. So 90% of the time he's practicing, only 10% of the time he's on the field. I'm about the same. I spend a lot of time practicing, and I have always been like that. But take it the next step further, which is also logging trades, journaling. And I'm talking about, logging what's happening before the market opens, what your thoughts are before the market opens, like journaling as much as you possibly can so that you have an understanding of what you were thinking and feeling, so that when you go back and you review some of your older trades, you have a bigger perspective that you can look at. And I tell you, it's a very eye-opening experience, because if you go back and review, first of all, if you keep a log of all of your trades and then you go back and you review later on, first of all, you're going to get an immediate reflection of how you've grown, which is good, because a lot of us don't recognize our growth standing right in front of us. And it's just like having kids. I mean, Dan, you've got kids. When you come home, or when they come home, or you've been away for like an hour, they come back, you don't notice that they've grown. You don't notice that they've grown maybe even in the last year. It's a gradual thing and you're not aware of it. But let's say grandma comes over. She goes, "Oh my goodness, you guys are so big. Haven't seen you since you were whatever." It's because that separation, that movement, or the time away has given fresh perspective to it. It's no different than revisiting your trades. And when you revisit those trades, you're going to get that sense of self gratification that you've grown. And in addition to that, there's going to be opportunities for you to learn maybe something that you didn't know before. Like, what was I doing? Why was I doing it? What do I know now? What could I do differently? All of those different things can play into growing as a trader. And that to me is also part of continuing education,
So
constantly reviewing.
let me ask you this, Tracy. What would be something that you would do? Because I think you're right. I mean, to recognize self growth through your own lens is different than somebody else being able to say,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, he was doing this before, now he's doing this," or he's really conquering the markets. He's conquering what he's doing as a task. What would be something that you could do tangibly to know that you could actually review and say, "Yeah, you know what, I am growing."
Well, I can tell you, because I've journaled my trades ever since I started, and I've gone back, 2, 3 years, looked up the trade and go, "Oh my goodness, what the heck was I thinking? Like, what was I doing? Like, this was so obvious." I mean, when you do that right off the bat, you're going to recognize that you're already a better trader than you were. That's just plain and simple. The other thing is, I think, because I journal how I'm feeling as well. So I put in, how am I feeling in the morning? What am I thinking in the morning? What is my mood like? I journal all of that stuff so I know. And same with the reactions after a loss or the reactions after a win. I think journaling that also helps. So when you have that kind of information at hand, then let's say down the road, you lose, and all of a sudden you're journaling. When you're going back and reading it, you're realizing, I'm not reacting the same way that I was before. I'm growing. I'm able to handle losses better. Or, you know what? I finally reached an area where I'm no longer thinking about the money. I'm thinking about the process, whatever that might look like as well. You can recognize it because you've journaled. You've kept a log of all of those things. The more information's king. The more that you have, the more you can use to process that. It's whether or not you want to take the time to go through and evaluate that information. And that's really what is key. a lot of people don't want to take the time. Okay. And I'm going to take that. You mentioned, why do you trade? I'm going to say, why are you even alive? Why are you here? Because that's really what it roots down to. And I'm here to learn as much as I possibly can, because it's my favorite thing to do, and to leave this place a better place than it was when I got here.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we have about a minute left, but you're hitting some heavy topics right at the end of why do we exist? You give me a minute to cover this one. I got you. I honestly though, I think that's trading is just a tool to get to where you are, or where you're supposed to be, or where you want to be, and where you can contribute the most. Right. So if you could actually figure out, what is my purpose here? Like, what am I supposed to do, or what can I do to benefit family, friends, neighbors, communities? Well, now you have an actual purpose, and all trading is this is my tool to get to where I want to be, right? And again, whether it's you're trying to free up more time so you could be able to achieve that goal as to who you should be. If it's, I need more money in order to capture that dream that I'm trying to chase, the market can deliver that. But a lot of people that get caught in the market of like, I just here to make money and just back and forth, more power to you. But it's a very loose fitting thing where now it just becomes, you're just playing a game. You're just playing a video game.
Exactly.
And then of course, when you get back into the education, you can't really rely on it too much. You're not really as focused as somebody that has just pure laser vision to their ultimate goal and knowing that this is a tool to get there. It's just how you interpret the information is a lot different.
Yeah. And we're going to end with one final thing. And some people are not going to like to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway. You want to be a good trader? It's on you. It is not my responsibility. It's not Dan's responsibility. It's not even a real life trading's responsibility to turn you into a good trader. We're offering a service. We're offering the education for you, but ultimately it is up to you. You want to be a good trader? Then be a good trader. The information's there. You just have to do the work. So that's it.
Love it. Well, thank you guys for joining us in another episode of the Real Life Trading Pivot Podcast. That's what we're on, right? I think so. We do appreciate you guys listening each and every week, and make sure you do check out the links below. We do have free week coming up, so if you guys are interested or have a friend that might be interested in checking out the Real Life Trading community, seeing all the different programs that we run throughout the day, all the live trading, all the classes that we provide throughout the day, make sure you guys click on that link as well and share it with a friend. You guys are incredible, and we'll catch you guys next week.